It's been 11 years since I've been able to invite you into audience participation and tell me where you are when you stumbled out of bed and threw that alarm clock against the wall, you got your car keys, you gobbled down that coffee, bacon, and eggs, and you ended up at Valley Community Church, Divine Science. We are so happy to see all you faces. I'd like you to turn to your left and turn to your right and wish everyone a good morning. Good morning. I see familiar faces all throughout, but I don't see anyone new. Is there anyone new who has just discovered us for the first time today? Just good friends, and please, thank you for coming today. It's a beautiful day outside, isn't it? You made the right choice. Please be considerate of others and turn your cell phone's ringer off, or its ringtone, please. We have a special program today, and it's special because we've got the Omnitones. They are individually Tammy Mulkey, Velvet Mode, Pam Cobbett, Stephanie Robinson, Rick Mylan, and on drums, Grace Overstreet. Very talented musicians in their own right as individuals, but when they're together as the Omnis, they make a joyful noise unto the Lord. And speaking for the Lord today is Kate Lear, and she will bring us our we used to call it our at 1 minute reading. It's words of inspiration, as I do on the telephone. Words of inspiration. Please, Kate.
All right. These are excerpts from an essay called I Have Learned by Kathy Hansen. It's also out in the world as another essay called Lessons Learned by, it's a professor and I can't remember where he is. Anyway, just excerpts. I've learned you can't make someone love you. All you can do is be someone who can be loved. The rest is up to them. I've learned no matter how much I care, some people just don't care back, and that's okay. I've learned it's not what you have in your life, but who you have in your life that counts. I've learned no matter how thinly you slice it, there are always two sides. I've learned that it's taken me a long time to become the person I want to be. I've learned it's a lot easier to react than to think. I've learned that we're responsible for what we do, no matter how we feel. I've learned that you can keep going long after you think you can't. I've learned that money is a lousy way of keeping score. I've learned that just because someone doesn't love you the way that you want them to, doesn't mean they don't love you with all they have. I've learned that your family won't always be there for you. It may seem funny, but the people who aren't related to you can love you and take care of you and teach you to trust people again. Families aren't biological. I've learned it isn't always enough to be forgiven by others. You have to learn to forgive yourself. I've learned that credentials on the wall don't make you a decent human being. And finally, I've learned that the paradigm we live in is not all that's offered to us.
Thank you so much, Kate. Our first hymn today is Joyful, Joyful, We Adore Thee. It is number 8, and we're going to sing verses 1, 2, and 3. So please open your hymnal. It's under your seats. And let's get ready.
Good morning.
Good morning.
This morning I'm going back and pick out some more nuggets from the scripture, the book of life. Because as we listen to this stuff and we try to incorporate it into our everyday experiences, we have life more abundant. We just live with a greater sense of freedom and high expectation for good and joy and gratitude. So, this is from Psalm 37, 4 and 5. Delight thyself also in the Lord, and he shall give thee the desires of thine heart. Commit thy way unto the Lord, trust also in him, and he shall bring it to pass. Trust. Now that's not an easy word. We can trust our past experience, though, can't we? We can think back and realize, well, you know, that unpleasant thing happened, but you know what came from that experience? Something good came from that. If that hadn't happened, then this and this and this wouldn't have happened. We can trust because as we look back, we've said to ourselves, oh, I wish I could get this, I wish I could get this. And it came to pass. Or out of the blue, something came to us that was a blessing, that was just right, just fit perfectly at that moment. And that's how we build trust. We keep remembering the good that God has made available to us. Now, in the midst of a difficulty, in the midst of thinking to yourself, now what? In the midst of saying to yourself, you know, this is not good. You know, what's coming up is not something to be appreciated. We go back to the whole issue of trust. Trust in him, and he shall bring it to pass. It's going to work out. It's going to be okay. It is going to be a blessing. But you have to commit yourself, it says, thy way, unto the Lord. What do you have to commit? You have to commit your thinking, your thought processes. You don't sink back into the old morass of maybe and awful and terrible and what next and fear and anxiety and stress. You don't do that. When you catch yourself, and then you might find yourself slipping, but when you catch yourself, you pull yourself back and you commit yourself back to that trust. And things work out. Just wait for a minute and something will come over the hill that is so unexpected and so right and so beautifully proper for you. Commit thyself unto the Lord. Delight thyself in the Lord, and he shall give thee the desires of thy heart. Ah, that's a wonderful promise. But there's that proviso. You've got to commit. You've got to commit where your head is. And know, trust. And it will come to pass. It will be okay. It will be in divine order. Praise the Lord. Shall we say our divine science statement of being? You'll find that in your orders of service. God is all, both invisible and visible. One presence, one mind, one power is all. This one that is all is perfect life, perfect love, and perfect substance. I am the individualized expression of God and am ever one with his perfect life, perfect love, and perfect substance.
and Grace were listening to the radio, and they heard an old folk rock song, and they both, in harmony together, of course, said, hey, that would be a good song for church. And they were absolutely right, as the verses of all this, of this song, all the verses, except the last line of the last verse, are virtually verbatim from the Bible. And then, Doug, you quoted the scripture when you spoke last, so it was, you know, it was destiny that we played it this time around. So listen to the verses on this and see if you don't recognize the scripture from the book of Ecclesiastes. 1, 2, 3, 4.
May I have the prayer box, please? Oh, it is our minds, open our hearts, please. Had asked for prayers, and these days we have more than ever, because I was asked to be the chaplain of the Divine Science Federation Board, and I get all the requests these days, all their prayer requests. Thank you. So, for all those people, and God knows who they are and where they are. For our own intentions and hopes and desires. For our fears and our worries, that they become something that we know God will take care of. For our sense of gratitude for all the abounding good that we enjoy. For all that and so much more, we give thanks this day. Take a deep breath in and let it out very, very slowly. Centering ourselves in an awareness of the presence of God right here, right now, within me, all around me. In everything I do, in every interaction, in every good, blessed thing, in the things that concern me. For God is right there, fully. Let's take another deep, relaxing breath. And let go, relax. Get still. And become centered in that place of peace and quiet, in that shining presence within us. And let us know that whatever is going on, whoever is having difficulty in our lives, whoever's promise is not being fulfilled in the way that we feel it should be fulfilled, the way we envision would be best for them. For those far away and near, for all those around the world who do not enjoy 1/10 of 1% of what we take for granted. For all these and so many more, we give thanks. We give thanks that God knows them as He knows each and every one of us. He knows us to our depths and He loves us unconditionally. How easy it is to just go to Him in confidence, expecting the best. For He is nothing but the best. Jesus said something about, if you ask your Father for a piece of bread, He'll not give you a stone or a snake. And our Father, our progenitor, that life force that fills us and ensures life eternal, that love, that peace, that infinite knowledge that abides in us as our own selves, that we trust, that we turn to, that we know will provide whatever is needed. This day, this sunny day, we give thanks. And in the 90 seconds of silence that we're going to have, we keep giving thanks. We count our blessings, so many of them in our lives, and give thanks for all those wondrous blessings that are to come. We turn ourselves completely over to God, trusting, loving, knowing, depending on all that He is, for God cannot be anything but godly. He cannot be anything but wise, just, good, abundant in His gifts. And right now, we dwell in the richness of His presence, His good, within us and in everything that touches our lives. In these 90 seconds, relax, let go, let God. Come unto me, all ye who labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. We've rested. We've given thanks. We've observed, seen the blessings that are ours, and we have known together that yet more good is to come. There is no shadow of turning in Him, says Paul. No being anything but what He is, which is perfect, which is absolutely wondrous. And we give thanks for this. we give thanks for God's dependability and His presence and His love right now, here, always. With deepest thanks, we say, Father, thank you. Thank you. Amen.
Amen.
Shall we say together the affirmative version of the Lord's Prayer? Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed is thy name. Thy kingdom is come, thy will is done on earth as it is in heaven. Thou givest us this day our daily bread. Thou forgivest us our trespasses. Thou leadest us not into temptation, but dost deliver us from all evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever and ever. Amen. Well, this morning I'm going to talk about thou shalt love. Last Wednesday night, we listened to a tape of Eric Butterworth's, and his talk was about the ancient roots of New Thought. New Thought is not new, it is ancient. It goes back millennia. Great thinkers, philosophers, mystics down through the ages have spoken or written about what we teach in our church today. They were truths yesterday, they will be true, they are truths today, and they're going to be truths tomorrow, for they're eternal truths. Now on this tape, Dr. Butterworth was talking about some of these spiritual lights, these people that were such wondrous blessings in their time, who brought ideas, principles that we in fact are using today. And one of the people he mentioned was Meister Eckhart. Well, I don't know if you know a lot about Meister Eckhart, but I heard certainly of him, and I've read a few of his quotes, but I never made it my business to learn very much about him and become more acquainted with what he taught, what he believed. Well, I've been working on that, but there's a lot there. I barely scratched the surface. But the little I've uncovered really concerning Meister Eckhart convinces me that this man was a truth seeker. He was a truth revealer, and he was a truth experiencer. Eckhart was born in Germany in 1260. He left home at 15. I guess 15 was the age of, well, you got out. He became a Dominican monk. He joined the Dominican order. And they must have realized the great potential that was in this young man, the wonderful intellect and that spiritual bent that he had, because they educated him. He studied philosophy and theology both in Germany and in France. And the Dominicans were trained to be preachers and teachers. And so they were the ones who would get up in church and deliver the message. By the age of 33, he was an ordained priest, and he embarked on a very impressive career in writing, teaching, preaching, and acting as a spiritual director for a great many monks and nuns and priests. He also served as a high-level administrator for the Dominican order. Unfortunately, he lived at a time when the Inquisition was probably 40 years old, and it was everywhere. It was all over Europe. He was accused and then unjustly convicted of being a heretic. And the church didn't make any bones about it. They martyred, or killed heretics. They tortured heretics. Heretics came to no good end. But that was not what happened to him. He was, after all, the most famous preacher of his time. And he obviously had mystical experiences, and they shaped his beliefs. They shaped his sermons. To this large number of mystical-minded people of his day who flocked to his church, his talks were electrifying. They were uplifting. They were new ideas. They never heard the gospel preached in that way before because he based everything in biblical truth. But to the many unmystical clerics of his day, his words were heresy. To us divine scientists, his ideas, his inspirations are like music to my ears, and I hope they will be to yours too. Eckhart's theology was our theology because he believed in panentheism. Everything is in God and God is in everything. That's our belief as well. For him, God is fully transcendent and at the same time is fully immanent. God is everywhere. God is right here within us. God is totally beyond anything, and yet everything is within him. He says, he who knows God rightly, who knows him, he knows God rightly, who knows him everywhere. Isn't that another way of saying omnipresence? Absolutely. And despite this sword of Damocles that was hanging over his head, this charge of heresy, Eckhart kept preaching what he truly felt, believed, knew in his heart. He declared that in every soul the divine spirit itself exists as its true identity. The soul was always perfectly one with God. Can you imagine, to the unenlightened people of his age, what that sounded like? How uplifting that must have been. What excitement he must have generated, preaching to these people in the midst of what were the Dark Ages, 12th, 13th century. In some of his earliest writings, Eckhart writes about sin. He says, love knows nothing of sin. Not that man has not sinned, but sins are blotted out at once by love, and they vanish as if they had not been. This is because whatever God does, he does completely, like the cup running over. Whom he forgives utterly and at once. Eckhart didn't want people walking around with a sense of guilt, which was certainly not what the Catholic Church taught, or still teaches, guilt and shame. He was a man of great piety. He always urged his listeners to be selfless, to be detached from the material things of life, to empty themselves of everything so that God could fill them with himself. He said, to be full of things is to be empty of God. To be empty of things is to be full of God. So you didn't pay all your attention to the material world, you paid attention to the inner world. That to me sounds like practicing the presence of God. Meister Eckhart wanted everybody, whether they were high or low in society, or whether they were educated or uneducated, to intimately know and love God the way he himself had been blessed to know him and to love him. God was not somewhere far off. God was here and could be part of one's life, an intimate part of one's life. God simply was not distance. He is here. He is now. He is always. a central theme for Eckhart was the birth of God in the soul, that God would make himself felt within us. See, there was no separation between oneself and God, or God and the whole world. This is something he wrote, and it's probably, you may have heard this before. The seed of God is in us. Pear seeds grow into pear trees, nut seeds into nut trees, and God seed into God. Sound familiar? Now I love this one. We were all meant to be mothers of God, for God is always needing to be born. God is at home. It's we who have gone out on a walk. He said, if the only prayer you ever say in your life is, thank you, it will be enough. God doesn't look at what you do, but only at your love and at the devotion and will behind your deeds. He is concerned only that we shall love him in all things. Yeah, one hears the echoes in Meister Eckhart of 1 John. You hear those same things that John said. Beloved, let us love one another, for love is of God, and everyone that loveth is born of God and knoweth God. And again, all this is in the 4th chapter of 1 John. God is love, and he that dwelleth in love dwelleth in God, and God in him. Beautiful, beautiful. And God is love. That's been the glorious insight of so many mystics down through the ages. That's what they've said, and that's exactly what people who have experienced a near-death experience, those who have gone deeply into that experience, have realized, have themselves experienced. Over and over, you can read accounts of their experiencing a presence, a light, a universal being whose presence fills them with such a profound sense of being loved that their lives are forever changed after that experience. It's not erasable. It's there permanently, the feeling. Their sense of connection to God. The memory of those feelings continue on and on. They never waver. There was one experiencer, I don't know his or her name, but this is what they wrote. The shape of the light also became more diffuse as I continued to merge with it, and I began to directly experience its vastness, an indescribable sense of unbounded love, presence, being, but not coming from any particular direction or source. The light itself contained and embodied these qualities. Feelings of ecstasy and loving bliss increased as the boundaries of my body and even my thoughts softened in their distinctness, as I felt myself slowly merge with this infinite, unconditional, loving presence. Waves of indescribable love washed over my mind and body. The light embodied universal being, pure potentiality, oneness. Beautiful. And there was a woman by the name of Mary who had been very, very badly injured in a car crash. And while they were trying to resuscitate her, I think in the ambulance, she felt herself slip away from her physical body and into a dark place. But it was velvety black, and it made her feel embraced and loved. She crossed her arms over her chest and cradled herself and described that she felt as though she was in the womb of God. Unable to hold back the tears, she said that she had never, ever felt so accepted, so cared for, and so adored. For Mary, there wasn't a sense of of light. There was a sense of this velvety blackness that was filled with love. There was another experiencer whose name was Leslie. Leslie was gravely wounded in a ranch accident, and she relayed this. As this new world came more into view, selfless love covered me and filled me with the purest and most intense sensation of undescribable joy. I soaked it up, head to toe. Not only did this love inundate me from all sides, it also streamed outwardly from me as well. I embodied the identical vibration that saturated everything. A fully conscious central point of energy emitted a kind of radiance that defies description. It remained in one spot where it pulsed. Fluctuating waves poured down on us. I couldn't name it, yet I knew that I stood in the presence of Godhead, or the divine source. I felt overwhelmingly adored. In turn, I felt that I too adored this divine source. So, that's my point. Why am I talking about Meister Eckhart and John, 1 John, and near-death experiencers this morning? What I'm really doing is just revisiting Jesus' great commandment. That master of life emphasized the central importance of loving God, loving ourselves and loving everybody else. The people who directly experience God, and I firmly believe that both John and Meister Eckhart experienced Him. I believe that they are telling us in the most powerful way about the overwhelming love that they felt, that everybody would be feeling if they were that deeply in touch with themselves, their deepest self. These people try their best, but there just are no words to adequately describe that feeling, knowing that truth. I personally felt it so touching that two of these people felt adored. That's not a word that we hear, certainly not one that we use. And yet it is going on all the time for each and every one of us. We are adored. God adores us in this incredible way. So, doesn't it behoove us to try to make the effort to love Him? Because doing that can't be anything but inspiring and uplifting. Or perhaps you want to try, first of all, by expressing compassion and kindness, or seeing the good in yourself and in the people around you. And then, make it every morning your goal, the theme of the day, to do exactly that. Your intention is to see the good in yourself, to see the good in other people, to feel compassion, to act compassionately, kindly. Don't forget, though, you're doing yourself the most wonderful favor, because in thinking these loving thoughts and doing these compassionate, kind things to yourself and to everyone else, your life, your health, your relationships with other people are all going to become aglow, the force of love. Once you practice loving yourself and others, please make the effort to start loving God. Oh, it seems so fuzzy, amorphous. But it isn't. It is not. It's a wonderful feeling. And you can start by doing what Meister Eckhart said. Say thank you. And through your thank yous, begin to love God. You know, Jesus' best, highest advice was, thou shalt love. Let's make it central in our lives. Shall we go within? Take a deep breath. With every breath you take, with every beat of your heart, you are utilizing, you are embodying the love, the life, the omnipresence of God. If we think about it just a little bit, everything we are, everything we have, everything we do, everything we look forward to, everything in our lives is from God. Comes through many, many sources, but He is the one original source of every good. And so we do say, thank you, thank you. We are adored, not just loved, adored. Let us adore Him back. Amen.
I'm going to do a song by the Commodores this morning, and I was reading something that Lionel Richie of the Commodores had said about his inspiration for this song was based on the memories of growing up in his deep south neighborhood, and on Sunday morning the town virtually shut down, and as they attended their churches and worship, and he said people were just nicer on Sunday morning, and they were at peace and at ease, and they just seemed to really enjoy life. And then he addresses in this song having to deal with one of those hard things in life that we always have, and making the decision to attack it and move on with your life so that you can be happy and peaceful and easy like Sunday morning that he remembered from his childhood.
Sounds funny, but I just can't stand the pain. I'm leaving here tomorrow. Seems to me, yeah, you know I've done all I can. See, I'm leaving all of my sorrow. Yeah. to make it. Everybody wants me to be what they want me to be. I'm not happy when I try to fake it. No, I'm easy. I'm easy like someone. I'm easy. I'm easy like someone. I'm easy like
I beseech you all for another round of applause for the Omni. A band of musicians so good that on one fateful night when we had a coffee house, they made Del Seiler's voice. And that, along with Moses parting the Red Sea and Christ raising Lazarus, was a miracle.
Yeah, they really did if you want to know the truth. Just saying.
We see the Christ in you, Doug. If the usher would please bring the baskets up, we're going to do the blessing of the gifts now. As a matter of form, I always look right at Tammy Mulkey when I recite. Today, I acknowledge God, omnipresent, as the source of all good, as the source of my good. With this acknowledgement, I accept His will, which is abundant in every aspect of my life. I release all thoughts of lack and limitation, and I am open and receptive to the increased flow of abundance to me right now. I joyfully accept the gifts of life and give freely the special gift that I am. Through me, God omnipresent, bless us as
going to pass the basket with the prayer requests in it. But before I do that, shall we do what we did last week? Would you turn to the people on either side of you or behind you and say, thank you for your gifts to God's work? Would you do that? Thank you. And now I want to pass the prayer basket. Those of you who would like to take a prayer slip are going to be doing something for yourself, even more than for the person for whom you will say a prayer throughout this coming week. You will be blessing yourself because the prayer starts here in you and goes out to another. Nobody is required to take this, but it is a blessing to you yourself, should you choose to do that.
Good morning. Morning. Okay, short announcements today, hopefully. Thank everybody for the peanut butter that they bought. Today's the last day to collect that, so I'm going to be taking it to the Feeding America one day this week. Now we're collecting shoes for the Ram House, so we'll be collecting those through October. So there's a big tub over here, so just fill it up, and every time you fill it up, I'll take it to the Ram House. We'll be talking more about Evan Alexander. We're still working on the flyer to get it ready to go online. So there's a lot of politics you have to go through to get pictures published and everything. So Ann has been working very hard this week, she and Bob, to get that done. So hopefully we'll have that done this week and get it online for the tickets to go on sale. Let's see, next Sunday we go back to our regular time of 11 o'clock. So if you show up at 10:30, do something, sweep the floors, and vacuum, do something, so make yourself useful. So anyhow, and let's see, this week's flowers are sponsored by Laurel and Cynthia for Nancy's birthday. Nancy is not here, she's in DC with her daughter celebrating her birthday. So I will either take them to her house because I'm keeping the dogs, or I'll leave them and she'll pick them up Tuesday. Join us on Wednesday nights at the Mill Mountain Coffee House. We always have a good time. Joey's always smiling. He and Kathy both are already smiling this night on Wednesday. So, and I know we're doing something different on Wednesday night. You want to talk about that?
Yes. What we've been doing is listening to some tapes of Eric Butterworth's. And he's a wonderful speaker, very, very bright man, very astute, spiritual teacher and student himself. And we listen to them and we discuss them, kick them around, see what they think about them, and we're having fun. So please join us. We're doing it at 5 o'clock. That seemed to be a good time for a lot of people. And so we're continuing it at 5 o'clock. So join us if you can, if you would like.
Okay, I want to say thanks again to the Tones. It's always wonderful to have them sing. You can do it every week if you want to. Phil was saying, oh no, that's not happening. But thank you anyhow. It's always great to have you sing for us. Oh, forgot. We were supposed to have a hike today. We canceled that hike due to the weather. We always like to do things, but we also like to look out for the welfare of our participants, so we do not want anybody having a heat stroke or anything out there. So we decided, okay, late last night decided we would not do the hike. The jury asked today, would anybody like to do lunch? So maybe we could get together and do lunch afterwards, if our go get ice cream or do something, so we could get something together. So we'll do that. So we'll talk about it after church, but we are not having the hike today.
Hey everybody, before I introduce our final hymn for the day, I want to show my appreciation once again to these lovely ladies who do our music every so often and do such a good job of it. It has to be, we have to have some kind of telepathy going on, because my message on the words of inspiration, and here's your free plug, 206, 23:14 was a reference to the Roger McGuinn and Roger McGuire song, Turn, Turn, Turn. Isn't that something? It actually was the first song of faith or any biblical reference at all in my own home. I grew up very unchurched. In fact, church was kind of a four-letter word at our house. But we were very, very, very glad to hear something that referenced, faith, goodness, wholesomeness, and the birds did it for us, and it still does. And they did it for us. Our final hymn, which is going to be even better than Turn, 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 Oh, is Peace Like a River. That is number 39 in your hymnal, and it is 1 and 2 and 3rd verse.